May 2nd, 2017, and if any of you saw my last video and are worried about me constantly complaining in each video I do about being a victim, don't worry about that because we got business to get to. Now, in today's news roundup, I divided the board into two sections because when I skim through all the mainstream media, alt media, and seeing of what's going on, this is really how it fits together in my head. We have the deep state definitely being destroyed and subdued right now. I know a lot of people don't see this, but remember, the media and even the alt media are very good at what they do because it's all, you know, most of it all is controlled by the same people, giving you the same narrative, so it's really tough to sift through. But I do still very well believe that this is occurring, and I'll tell you why. And then this is the other half of the picture I see. Mainstream media half-truth disclosures. They are throwing a shitload of information out there, just all truth in plain sight, but of course a couple little things they either dis or misinform us about to lead us astray still. Now, I'll get to that in a minute here because first I want to go over this side. And really the topic of the day, concept of the day is shut it down, because Donald Trump, friggin' hilarious, he's on Twitter, interviews, all kinds of things where he's just like, you know, we might just need a government shutdown. It's just shut it down. Let's, you know, get this ball rolling. And it's very interesting when he says shutdown, he quoted it in his Twitter. What does he mean by shutdown, right? Because there could always be double, triple, quadruple entendres behind what he's saying. So, I mean, many in the truthing community have known about alleged bank holidays, revaluations, maybe alleged mass arrest scenarios, swooping up the pedos, maybe disclosure scenarios where certain shutdowns or redistribution of power per se happens. Who knows, right? Who knows what he might have meant by shutdown, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. And one thing I want to discuss before we get into the board, cheesy-ass board here, is when I say Donald Trump, what a lot of people need to understand when people say Donald Trump, it's not him, okay? He is the talking face. He is the orange talking face. God bless that man for doing what he does and putting himself in that situation, or maybe he didn't even put himself. Maybe he was forced in that situation. Who knows? But he is in that presidential seat to take the attention away from everybody and do very specific things that he is having a very tough time doing, but it's not him, okay? That's the point I want to allude to here. It is a network of white hats, of military, of people behind him who are getting the job done, and they need to get the job done kind of in quiet, in secret right now, but you can still very much find out what is going on when you put the pieces together. So, I mean, this is why I do this for you guys, put the pieces together. So, it's not Trump, it is basically, some just call them the Alliance, but the Alliance is very much still destroying the deep state, and a few bullet points in that regard. Number one, the proxy armies are being subdued by both America and Russia, and Trump and company are trying to get China to also put the pressure on the proxy armies. First and foremost, ISIS is being destroyed. So we had a US-backed coalition. They admitted to making their largest advances ever versus ISIS. And we even had a few days ago Russia saying that they are fully ready to cooperate with America to attack ISIS. Pretty weird, right? Because just a couple weeks ago, the mainstream media was trying to beat the war drums and say that Russia and America are going to have World War III tomorrow. So again, that's kind of like what I said a couple weeks ago. Trump and Putin are trolling the world. The bear and the eagle team up to take down the snake, the reptiles. That's what's going on. So ISIS is being cornered, and North Korea has been put on check too. Remember, they've had 2 ballistic missile tests fail now. And now that 2 of them have failed, I'm just sitting here thinking, well, maybe, I mean, these missiles were hacked, or maybe they were, you know, taken down by some directed energy weapon or something to that effect. Maybe, you know, the alliance is preventing more war with North Korea there. So again, we have the proxy armies being put into a box so they can't do anything. And John McCain here, good old John McCain, who is proxy ISIS army funder, Mr. Warhawk himself, he's like, oh, ho, 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 don't attack North Korea. He, Mr. Republican, right, he's a Republican, he's on both CNN and MSNBC, 2 liberal progressive think tanks, claiming, oh, North Korea attack should be our last option. Why? Because he probably sends them friggin' ammunition and guns. John McCain, who's also been linked to ISIS a couple weeks ago, he was whining, complaining about Russia and the U.S. taking down ISIS. He was saying that America shouldn't get involved with Russia in taking down ISIS. Why? Because he knows they're going to get the job done. So, again, they're crying now. They're literally crying. The deep state cronies and their minions, I'll get to that in a sec, are crying because they're being put into a corner. And we even have Jimmy Fallon now, right? They're pulling out all the stops and to yank people's heartstrings to hate the current administration, okay? Jimmy Fallon is now crying on his channel because of healthcare and his, I don't know, heart diseased son or something like that. Tell you right now, that's bullshit. Okay, that's another point to make, is this whole healthcare thing. A lot of people are getting their panties in a bunch about it, but you don't understand what you're asking for is pretty much the worst healthcare system on the planet. It's not even healthcare, it's death care. So people are wanting, right? Like, again, they're just, they're pulling their Hollywood and their media puppets to do the dirty work and pulling people's heartstrings to hate what's going on. But understand, all is well. And then next we had the Daily Kos. This was interesting. It was kind of small to me, but what I think is going to happen is we're going to see a lot more of these articles just like this one. A few days ago, they had somewhat of a smear article on Trey Gowdy. If you don't remember who Trey Gowdy is, he is a Republican in the House Oversight Committee. He has been spearheading a lot of anti-pedophilia and anti-human trafficking legislation. So now, I think he's one of those white hats that are in there. And now that Jason Chaffetz, who was the head of the House Oversight Committee, kind of randomly, nobody really knows why, but he announced he was going to be retiring early from politics. That kind of puts him right in position to get in the head of the House Oversight Committee. They ran a smear article on that whole process, so it's very interesting that they would do that, and I think we're going to see a lot more of those smear articles come out. So again, like I said, it's a certain alliance, a certain group of people. I think he is probably one of them, Trey Gowdy. I think Trump is, doing his specific part of the play of the show that's going on. And next, we have Clinton. I just saw this morning, and she was coming out on the mainstream media. She looked like decrepit, dude. I don't even know how she's still living, right? Oh, and keep that in mind. What's Granddaddy Bush still doing? Is he out of the hospital yet? I wonder. So anyway, Clinton comes out, she's probably stressed as all heck knowing that her time is coming very soon. And she's, out there blaming WikiLeaks. And this was interesting. She was actually blaming James Comey, the FBI director, for her loss. So I wonder if there's certain infighting going on, right? Certain throwing of under the bus by elites. So she was outing Comey. And then, of course, WikiLeaks, man. Friggin' emails that have to do with weird references to nasty satanic stuff. Of course, WikiLeaks is going to add to your downfall. So there was that. And then next, this is really interesting as well, that makes me, still think that we're on the very right track and that this is still happening, is that Donald Trump invited the Filipino president, Rodrigo Duterte, pronunciation, I don't know, Rodrigo Duterte, to the White House to talk with him. Very interesting, because this guy's been very outspoken against the New World Order, and he's actually recently wanted to team up with Russia and the BRICS nations to take him down. Very outspoken about it. And of course the mainstream media having a field day with this one. Even John McCain questioning this. Of course they are, right? That's their narrative. They go, oh, why is he pandering to this terrorist and this bad leader? You mean the leader that's calling you guys out? So, a lot of stuff to sift through, and you need a whole lot of perspective these days to really understand what's going on in the mainstream media. But that's that for the MSM. So understand, John McCain, the pedos are put on notice. They're starting to smear. A lot of smearing is going on. A lot of disinformation with me, with other whistleblowers, with people in the mainstream media and whatnot. A lot of disinfo campaigns. But behind the scenes, all is well, because the proxies are getting very much put into a corner. Not only that, but a lot of the drug lords too. I believe Trump was making a mention of MS-13, and Sessions was, because they are probably very much funded by those deep state elites and use them for a lot of their drug and human trafficking stuff. So a lot of stuff coming down the pipe in that regard. So deep state destruction. Now I want to get into the mainstream media portion of it, because this is huge. I've seen so many crazy things come out on mainstream media outlets. It's like, bam, you know, smack you over the face with the truth. In Science Alert, which I did a little digging on this website, this is founded by an ex-Microsoft guy. So this is probably, you know, a good mainstream media MSM dogmatic science outlet, you could call it, Science Alert. But they had two big articles that I saw just a couple days ago. One was about a UK company that was switching on what they called an ambitious hot fusion reactor. Not only did they have an article on that, but they had an article on, literally, it said quantum materials. Here, I want to pull it up. No, I don't got time to pull it up. It said quantum materials were created that can actually bend the space-time continuum. It was really freaking weird, and they were saying both of these things in complete seriousness. So it's like, literally, they're telling you, oh my gosh, in this article it said clean limitless energy with magnetic coils in a toroid pattern. Right on Science Alert, they are discussing a electromagnetic free energy machine. For years, this has been vilified in the mainstream media, saying it couldn't exist because it breaks the laws of physics. And now, for some reason, it's like a 180. So huge disclosure there. And then they're talking about the materials that can literally affect the space-time continuum and like bend time. It was really weird what they were saying, because of course they have to speak of these things in the old foundations, in the flawed foundation of science. So it's really tough to understand what they're trying to say, and they don't even know how to word it, because you literally have to like redo the foundations of how you're understanding physics to begin to explain this stuff. But boom, those disclosures were right there. And let's be real, again, that little bit of misinformation that they throw in there, they're talking this fusion reactor to be dealing with very hot plasma. But what about cold fusion? There are many examples of cold fusion and scientists discussing it. Dr. Brian O'Leary and Dr. Eugene Mallover too. And a lot of research showing it's been around since it was discovered by happenstance in a Utah laboratory in the 1980s. So we have cold fusion being a very real possibility, but they're claiming, you know, oh, it's hot fusion now. So it's like those little things. They don't want to tell us that they've been suppressing this stuff for years, but they will tell us, you know, oh, it exists now, but only in the way that we say. So that's some of the misinformation I want to clear up there. Next, on the Daily Mail a couple days ago, I loved this one. This was actually very surprising to me. They had an article where it said the mini ice age wiped out civilization about 13,000 years ago, and they actually referenced Graham Hancock's work in this article, and it made pretty good rounds on the mainstream media. So it's very surprising to me that they are literally putting the truth out there about our history. Not only they're saying, oh, there was, you know, literally an advanced civilization 13,000 years ago that got wiped out, but this is in tandem with something I reported on in my last news update video, was that people were shown to be living in California 130,000 years ago. So there, I mean, shoot, we literally have to rewrite the history textbooks every single day with all these discoveries coming out. It's insane. So boom, they're telling us that humans lived for a lot freaking longer than we realized. They're literally telling us, mainstream media, legit science, you know, publications, that there was an advanced civilization that got wiped out. They're telling us free energy is real. They're telling us we can mess with time. And holy crap balls, Batman. On Fox News, they said the wreckage of a mysterious planet is circling Mars. Holy crap, right? And again, in all seriousness, they came out, you know, a new study has shown that there's wreckage of an ancient planet circling Mars. This brings into the picture something that's been out there in, you know, in the underground truth realm of something called the exploding planet hypothesis. Wow, you know, huge disclosure in plain sight right there, but a little bit of misinformation. That mysterious planet wasn't circling Mars. It was actually its own planet where the asteroid belt is now. There used to be a planet there. That's why we have an asteroid belt. And that planet, it's gone by many names. Call it Tiamat, Phaeton, Electra. You can call it, I don't know, Marduk, or this guy. the guy that came up with the exploding planet hypothesis, he was actually a NASA scientist. He called it, I don't even know what he called it, planet something or other. Maybe this is why people always reference Planet X, but they don't exactly know what they're referencing. Maybe those theories stemmed from this. I don't know. But anyway, there used to be a planet there. And but the Fox News is saying the wreckage of a mysterious planet is circling Mars. Mars was circling it, apparently, and this planet used to be there. So I'll do another video going deeper into this. And this is a good point to make, actually. About half the videos I do are these news updates. And eventually what I want to get into is actually having some type of like subscription-based website where I'm able to almost create my own relearning university with hours and hours of stuff like this. But for now, while I'm putting all of these videos just in the public domain on YouTube, I'm probably going to do half the videos, these updates. Every 1 or 2 days I'll do a news roundup. But then the other half of the videos, what I'm going to do is just go off on certain subjects and get a little bit deeper, because I know a lot of what I cover here goes right over people's heads, and they just like listening to what I have to say because it's so freaking new and unique and interesting. But a lot of these I'll take time to go off on tangents and explain a little bit more about. The exploding planet hypothesis is a video that I've wanted to do for a while. And then this brings me to my last point as well. Antarctica. If you literally Google Antarctica and click on news, there are so many articles that come up. It's insane. And they're literally taking like any little thing they can and turning that into a news article. It's like they're finding whatever they can just to seed this idea of Antarctica into our consciousness. You can Google it right now, right, and go to news and find like things about whales, things about blood falls. One article I just found this morning was like, oh, the glaciers aren't melting that fast. But then you find more articles that say, oh, they are melting that fast. And it's like they are using whatever they can to run stories on with Antarctica. So that's real interesting. And I was planning on doing a longer in-depth video on that too. So look for those 2 videos coming soon. Some, true history about our solar system and us and who we are in both of those videos. And when it comes to all of these half-truth disclosures as well, this is the last point I want to make in this video, is that the reason that, what I want to say with this is that there's 2 perspectives we can look at it, okay? If we want to look at it from the positive perspective, we can, and we can see that, okay, well, maybe there are some white hats and some good forces that are beginning to almost reverse infiltrate the media. And we could say there's good people trying to get these stories out there to seed into our consciousness. That's one speculation, that's one aspect that I want you guys to ponder, is that there's good people prepping us for much larger disclosures once these guys are rounded up, and that's what could be going on. But of course, we have to play devil's advocate with ourselves in honor of true discernment, and we have to look at this from a point of, okay, if it's not good people, again, we have to realize it's the mainstream media that's saying all this stuff, and they are giving us a little bit of misinformation with it all. So we have to then look at this as, okay, well, maybe these stories are being put out by bad guys, negatives per se, the dark forces, and maybe the reason they're putting out all of these stories is to have an out if they need to. And this is a very important point to make, in that they could be saying, oh, I skipped right over NASA here. NASA was saying that mankind is about to discover ET life. There was an actual administrator of NASA was giving a press conference or a speech to a committee just a couple days ago, and he's quoted as saying that. So the reason they have and put all of these stories right there in the mainstream media is that if something were to occur, like that shutdown that I mentioned earlier, right, or a mass arrest scenario of the deep state pedos, or if something of that effect were to take place, if the white hats were to make a move, then they have an out where they could completely distract everybody, okay? So imagine if some mass arrests were beginning to take place, they could use NASA, right, never a straight answer NASA, and hold some breaking news press conference and be like, bam, we found aliens, and then completely try to distract and divert away from this, right? It's all a psychological war game that's going on. Or they could use Antarctica, right? That article that just came out a few days ago that I reported on in my last news video was the mysterious markings on the seabed floor under Antarctica. So what if they put that in the mainstream media to use it as an out if they need to and start running with that story? So you see how many stories they have planted that they could run with? You understand? What if they combined, you know, oh, the civilization this many thousand years ago was wiped out in a mini ice age that was in Antarctica, and then they could totally run with that narrative. So they have so many narratives that they're putting out right here, and that's what lets me know that we're getting to like the final days, because people are crying. They're putting out all these outs, right? And yeah, so that's what it looks like to me when I put everything together holistically, is that we are, you know, who knows whether this is positive or negative people that are putting all this information out. We are close because this information is coming out. So, I mean, the way I look at it is that humanity's win is written in the stars, right? So negative or positive doesn't really matter because that's going on. So soon, I think, you know, we will see a breakthrough. We will see like a 100th monkey effect, and give it weeks, months, maybe. I mean, he stated that government shutdown is now in September. So I think at most that'll be how long we have to wait until we start seeing some big breakthroughs. But in all honesty, it's going to happen way sooner than that, and we might see big things happen within weeks. So anyway, stay tuned, guys. I'm going to keep updating you with all of this, and if you guys have any suggestions on more, you know, more of the in-depth research videos that I'm going to do, about half each, let me know. I'm going to do Antarctica, I'm going to do the exploding planet hypothesis, and then I'm going to do whatever else I feel like doing, because it all just kind of, I always run with what feels best at the time. So anyways, thanks for supporting. Peace out, guys.